Good afternoon and welcome to our session. Today, we are going to talk about how to sustain pathways, right? And so the main question we're going to talk through is how to create buy-in for dual credits. And so our presenters are going to be Shavon Taylor Booker and also Bridget French. And so here's what we're going to do today. So we are going to review our session description just to make sure you're in the right place, introduce our speakers, and then we'll have presentations from Shavon Taylor Booker of City College of Chicago and also Bridget French of Rockford Public Schools. So a couple of things I want to note is that this session is being recorded. We highly encourage our chat box. So if there are questions that you have, let us know. We'll definitely do our best to answer them. And lastly, we want to get to know you, right? So as I'm going through our introductions, please drop your name, title, and organization in the chat box so we can kind of get an idea of who's in the room. Okay, so here's our session description. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but just a special note, our speakers here are going to really talk about best practices, the importance of strong partnerships, reduction or barrier reduction strategies, and lesson learned in the space of pathways and dual credits. So today, I have the great honor of introducing Bridget French and also Shavon Taylor Booker. Out of their bios here, so I'm going to kind of give you some information about who they are and their background. So Shavon Taylor Booker serves as District Director of Early College for Chicago, City College of Chicago. Early College is a concurrent enrollment program that offers high school juniors and seniors an opportunity to earn college credit while in high school. So prior to joining CCC, Shavon taught high school and operated a supplemental instruction education service that served Chicago Public School elementary students. Bridget French is the Executive Director of College and Career Readiness for Rockford Public Schools since 2017. As the Executive Director, she's responsible for the development, implementation, assessment, and continuous improvement of programs aimed at increasing student success to post-secondary education and employment opportunities. Prior to joining Rockford Public Schools, Bridget was the Executive Director of Alignment Rockford, which is an education-based non-for-profit organization that supports strategic initiatives for Rockford Public Schools. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Shavon Taylor Booker, to talk about the great work that's happening at City College of Chicago.
Thank you so very much, Megan, and welcome to each of you. Feel free to call me Shavon and drop your questions in the chat. I am happy to engage with you. Before I begin, I'd like to share with you some information about City Colleges of Chicago. In the city, we are one of the nation's largest community college districts, comprising 7 college campuses that are independent of one another, as well as 5 satellite colleges. And as it relates to dual credit, all of our high school students are able to take concurrent enrollment opportunities at all 7 of our colleges. We partner with Chicago Public Schools, which is our largest district, but we do offer homeschool students opportunities, as well as private schools, as well as students who are transferred into the state of Illinois. With that being said, I want to provide you our concurrent enrollment definitions. We offer dual enrollment and dual credit. So dual enrollment is the traditional dual credit model C, in which students will come to us and take classes at one of our 7 colleges. And then we offer dual credit. And for the longest, we've offered dual credit in the traditional models of A, B, and again, C. But since the pandemic, we've been very fortunate to open up and offer all 4 models, A, B, C, and D, which is asynchronous online learning for our high school population. If you look at the table, this is a snapshot of how many students we serve annually in our dual enrollment bucket. Students can take classes with us every term, summer, fall, and spring. And Coupled with that, simultaneously, they're able to enroll in dual credit classes at their high school or take dual credit classes in the Model D asynchronous format. We see about 2,300 students annually, and we have an average success rate in the upper 80s. However, there are challenges for sustaining our operation because it's so massive. And so what I want to talk to you today deals with how we have worked together in conjunction with Ed Systems in particular to identify some of our barriers, identify some of our pain points, if I could be really honest, and talk through those challenges and address them. So some of our challenges for sustaining our massive operation stemmed from creating proper buy-in from all of our dual credit stakeholders, namely our very own faculty. That was one of our key challenges, and I'm going to really peel that apart in just a second. Another challenge we identified was because of our rapid growth in enrollment, we did not have enough quality measures in place to truly identify the need for continuous improvement efforts and make the shift to address those. In addition to that, we wanted to move away from a culture of shifting or having students take college courses, shifting from course taking to a more strategic dual credit model. And then we identified that there were some challenges with how often and in what ways our college faculty interacted with our high school partners and how those interactions could be improved upon. Traditionally, we would offer professional development and orientations for all of our high schools as it relates to the Dual Credit Quality Act, but we identified that there was a need to do more and to fully integrate our high school partners into the culture of our college system. So all in all, the team identified that there was a strong need for communication as early as possible and as often as possible. And what we did to address these challenges is on the next slide. Last year in 2021, so around this time, we asked education systems to do a deep dive analysis into our dual credit processes to help us identify ways to strengthen our program, to strengthen our relationship, and to strengthen our partnerships with city colleges and between Chicago Public Schools. So Ed Systems began to conduct extensive desk research on national best practices, frameworks, and leading models. And then they facilitated focus groups of high school teachers and counselors, administrators, and college faculty, deans, and administrators. And this was my favorite part of the deep dive analysis because the focus groups gave us an opportunity to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly about the operation as a whole. And that gave us an opportunity to address all of the feedback. And when you are creating, these opportunities for people to share, you want to encourage full transparency so that you can move the needle and address the barriers as set forth. Ed Systems conducted interviews with 2 of our early college administrators, 2 CPS central office administrators, and 1 CCC faculty coordinator, and observed 3 selected partnerships from their national search. All in all, this desk review and deep dive analysis helped to formulate where we would move forward. And so I want to focus on 2 key areas of opportunity that we've implemented since the latter part of May of last year until now. Next slide, please. So after the deep dive analysis, and again, hearing through some of the feedback, and I'm going to share 2 responses to you, we decided to change our leadership structure. A question came up, well, who owns concurrent enrollment at early college, in early college at city colleges? And there is no one way to answer that question in terms of who owns it, because it's comprised of many different parts. It should have many different owners, and we all should be accountable. So some of the feedback we received on the left is feedback from a high school teacher. And that person told us that we were amazing. We did some amazing things, that we had a ton of resources to offer, but they expressed that they still felt completely disconnected from their college. And that is a lot to say when the resources are there, but you still feel disconnected. In addition to that feedback, one of our own internal faculty coordinators addressed this question that deals with the main barriers regarding high school instructors. And this person said that the main barrier high school instructors face in providing dual credit experiences for students is their own familiarity and practice with college level assessments, lessons, pacing, and expectations. So all in all, we realized that there was a dire need to address the concerns on our high school side as well as internally on our faculty side. And so we shifted our leadership structure and we created a district-wide dual credit course implementation committee last fall, and that committee is still working together. The leadership structure consists of college faculty and administrators, our high school instructors, as well as our on-the-ground staff, and we meet bi-weekly, and we met bi-weekly since the fall of 2021 to chart a new path for dual credit oversight. So now we have a full answer to who owns early college. Our dual credit course implementation committee owns the work, the oversight, and the continuous improvement efforts of early college and city colleges. We identified 6 classes to create content level course packets, and we wanted not to just have course information and content to deliver to the high schools, but we wanted to make sure that this course content was indeed interactive for the high school. So we selected English 101, Computer Information Systems 101 and 116, Biology 116 and 120, and all of these classes that were selected are either courses that are going to lead up to an associate's degree on our GECC track, or courses that are part of our dual credit model pathway opportunities. And I'm going to talk about those in a second. So these course packets, they comprise information regarding syllabi, sample student work, sample student assignments and rubrics, and assessment opportunities for our high school partners to have full support and not feel disconnected to the college experience to better serve the students. In addition to creating and implementing the course level packets, we created these learning modules for all of the courses, and we leveraged our learning management system to house the academic course packets. And that LMS we use at City Colleges is Brightspace. Some other colleges we took a look at actually use Canvas to house all of their dual credit content, but we're very fortunate that we have our course packet for English 101, all of the content uploaded to our Brightspace system, and we look forward to taking it on a road show to get all of the stakeholders' feedback regarding how to navigate and what they think the high school experience will be, the high school teacher experience will be. We plan to roll this out for next fall, so our goal is to have all of our course packet information uploaded by April of this spring. Very excited about this opportunity. Now that we've changed our leadership structure and we have full buy-in from all of our faculty, we have full buy-in from administrators both at CCC and our largest provider, Chicago Public Schools, now we're able to shift our focus on implementing model programs. And as you know, the model program guides are designed to give us guidance and establish frameworks to develop and implement programmatic supports for students. The really nice part about the model pathway guides is that it makes us identify priority coursework that are foundational to the success of students and for their long-term goals, and they are scalable. And so I'm going to identify 2 courses in our health sciences model pathway that we are currently rolling out right now. 2 other things the model pathways are helpful for is to identify competencies that should be taught throughout the program so that students are prepared for the industry and the work experience. And then lastly, model pathway guides identify entry points for employer partnerships and potential experiences as a whole. And thank you so much, John, for dropping in the state level model pathways into the chat. And the deep dive analysis, I actually put it in the chat so you guys can take a look at those as well and see all of the feedback from our deep dive analysis for dual credit. So, City Colleges selected 4 model pathways to focus on information technology, construction, advanced manufacturing, and health sciences. The other bonus about model pathways is that schools do not need to be CTE schools in order to offer model pathways. I think when we first began to initiate the model pathway strategic dual credit course offerings, we wanted to select the CTE schools because they were already offering the programs, but through some integration of leveraging articulation opportunities, articulation agreements, as well as offering coursework for schools, we were able to find and identify career and technical education high schools as well as non-CTE high schools. So that has truly been a bonus. And remember, the pathways help us to seamlessly connect to post-secondary programs, offer industry-recognized credentials for these particular pathways, and then offer high-quality work-based learning experiences, as well as the dual credit course attainment. And so now I'd like to talk about our health sciences pathway. We've identified 4, but we started to launch the health sciences pathway last fall. We're very excited about those outcomes. And then next on the docket is our information technology pathway, and that will launch in the fall of next academic year. The health sciences model pathway priority courses comprised of Biology 120, which is medical terminology, and at City Colleges, that course does not require prerequisites. So that is the very first course the high school students will take, giving them an opportunity to experience medical terminology without having necessarily a barrier for enrollment. However, the second course in the sequence is Biology 116, which is anatomy and physiology. And the other bonus of offering this course sequence of 121st and 116 is that 120 is a requisite for 116. Before the model pathway model, I'll be very honest with you, we were allowing high schools to offer 116 for only students who were eligible for it. And given the opportunity of taking the 120 first, created a wider net for all students to qualify and experience 116. And so that's been a real game changer for us. So after the priority coursework is taken, then students will have essentially 2 options. They can continue with the program sequence that lead to an industry credential, or they can take our basic nursing assistant program. Again, another game-changing opportunity for students. So this spring, we are working on building out our BNA program to fit this high school experience so that students can take in the fall of 2022 their BNA experience if they choose not to continue on the programmatic sequence as outlined. And then after their BNA experience, or while they're doing their BNA experience, students will be able to participate in a youth apprenticeship placement. And early on, I talked about fully integrating all of the concurrent opportunities with the structure of our college in every department. So our career and placement departments are ready to receive our model pathway students. And this has been a true win-win for all of the work that we're doing. I wanted to share some outcomes with you. And again, this was our first go around with our health sciences. So we learned a lot of lessons, right? We learned where we needed to have additional supports for the students, and we learned where we needed to kind of maybe pull together some asynchronous learning opportunities or hybrid learning opportunities for our 120 class specifically, because it focuses on, the medical terminology, which is more theoretical. So in the fall of 2021, as mentioned, we started with 67 students, and our next step is to kind of peel the onion back on the pass rate just to make sure we understand what happened to the remaining students. But we're really excited about those. This spring, we have 91 students enroll in a few sections of Bio 120, so we were able to onboard more classes between 8 high schools. And then we have 1 high school offering our Bio 116 that will actually continue on with Bio 116 in the fall. All in all, we're going to continue to meet with our implementation committee on a biweekly basis for our task forces and on a monthly basis to keep us on track with the build out of our course content for Bio 116 and 120, and to truly connect our high school teachers and staff to these opportunities. And because we had the analysis that focused on our stakeholders, both CCC and CPS, to provide our transparent feedback, we're now in a position this summer. Another next step is to create a tool that will give us a more of a student voice, so that we're capturing the students' feedback as it relates to their experience and our concurrent enrollment opportunities. So there is still more work ahead of us to do, but at least together we've charted out a new path as we structure out sustaining our dual credit initiative as we continue to expand and grow. That concludes my topic, and I'm going to turn it over to Bridget French.
Thank you so much, Shavon. That was great. As Megan mentioned, I'm Bridget French. I'm the Executive Director of College and Career Readiness for Rockford Public Schools. We have approximately 28,000 students here. That is 42 schools. Of those, 4 are comprehensive high schools, and 1 is an alternative learning high school. We do implement wall-to-wall academies and pathways. So we have 4 academies at every high school. So every high school has the same 4 academies. And about 2017, when I started with the district, my colleague, the Director of Career and Technical Education, also started around the same time. And we were tasked with ensuring all of our pathways ended in early college credit or an industry certification for a high wage in demand occupation. And we also wanted to make sure, again, that when students were experiencing our academies and pathways, that those pathways were ending in a three-course stackable sequence that resulted in early college credit or industry certification. When we started, we worked with 23 pathways that students largely were not taking in any sort of sequence. So if a student was in the business academy, they would take 3 classes in the business academy, but they might take graphic design as a sophomore, IT as a junior, and media production as a senior, which kept them in that same sort of business theme, but did not allow them to earn any sort of credential or college credit. So we worked with our school teams and our administrators to refine the curriculum and pare the course sequences down to ensure that all students were taking that stackable 3-course sequence. And then we worked to make sure as many teachers as possible were CTE certified to ensure we could maximize funding, federal Perkins funding and CTEI funding from our EFE. So our first task was to look at our current dual credit offerings. And we started by taking a look at what already existed. And at that time, all that we offered was Running Start, which many of you may be familiar with, a Running Start type of model where students attend college and high school concurrently on a college campus to obtain their associate's degree at the same time as earning their high school diploma. So we still run this program. We allow 40 students, so 20 juniors, 20 seniors each year. And we pay the tuition for that program. And then at that same time, we also learned that we had 1 dual credit course taking place on our high school campuses at 1 school. And that was a dual credit government class that was largely in place because the instructor had a master's degree in the core content area and knew about dual credit and contacted the college and made it all happen himself. So it wasn't anything that happened because of the work of like a sustainable strategic plan. It just sort of happened. And at that time we had about 12 students earning college credit. So in 2017, we were a district that spent a lot of time and resources on prioritizing AP. We have a lot of AP teachers. We spent a lot of our capacity and effort trying to get students into AP classes. And part of the issue with that was we made a very concerted effort in moving towards sort of an automatic acceleration policy for AP. And as a result, we saw a significant increase in our minority students enrolling in AP classes, but the pass rates for the AP exams were flat. We saw absolutely no change in our AP exam pass rates, which we would consider, a 3 or higher. And then concurrently, we had very little buy-in from our core content teachers for dual credit. They just did not understand the benefits to dual credit and felt that, AP is something that has been pushed by the district for so long, and that was what they were going to stay with. And all of this at the time predated our local implementation of the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act and the Model Partnership Agreement. So we started with what we could control, and that was our pathways and our pathway courses. And so we looked at employer partners who are willing to help teach dual credit or help us develop dual credit courses together in partnership with our community college. And I don't know if there's any of our community college partners in this session, but I'm not about to say anything that they haven't already heard us say. We've been through a labor of love, and one of our major challenges was working with our post-secondary partner to launch dual credit courses on our campuses. The first challenge we had was an unwillingness on their part to share the curriculum with our teachers and our staff. But I think that also was partially a misunderstanding of who has access to curriculum and who doesn't. So in a secondary school system, typically, your central office, especially in large districts like ours, the central office develops curriculum with teachers, but central office has like a repository of the curriculum for courses. Well, on a post-secondary system, a lot of curriculum is developed by the faculty or the dean of that college, and post-secondary administration doesn't always have access to that curriculum. So we're asking them, give us your curriculum. They're saying, well, we don't have it. And we assumed they just didn't want to give it to us. And so that kind of like bred like kind of a discomfort and a lot of discord in our relationship at the onset. And then at the beginning, we started with a course called Crime Scene Investigation. We have a large workforce demand for police officers in our region, and we have a very close working relationship with the city of Rockford and our police department. And so we had been talking with them about how do we get more police officers, in particular, more police officers who are of color in our community. And so we felt like this was a great first place to start. So we launched Crime Scene Investigation, which is a dual credit course with Rock Valley College. But we implemented the course, and then we administered the AccuPlacer, the college placement testing for reading at a college level. And what we found was about half the students did not meet the college level reading guidelines as set forth by the AccuPlacer. And so their request, our post-secondary partners' request, was that mid-year we pull those students out of the class and we put them into something else. And obviously we were not happy with that solution for multiple reasons. One, the students that they were recommending we pull out of the class were doing well in the class. They were accessing and learning college level coursework and passing the course. So our argument was, although they didn't pass or meet the threshold of the AccuPlacer, they're meeting college level coursework in a pathways class. So they should be allowed to remain in the class. Second, that really would be an upheaval to the work that we did in our 3 course sequences and the work that we did to ensure that all students were graduating with that 3 course sequence in completion and getting early college credit. So we promised students, like, you stay in this pathway, we'll connect you to an industry partner, but in your 3rd course, we're going to pull you out and put you in a total different class. Really was kind of the antithesis of everything that we were trying to do. The resolution eventually was that we moved to multiple measures. At that time, the compromise was that we would do push-in reading interventions for the students that did not meet college level reading in the AccuPlacer. So while we were working on all of this, we accessed a little bit more low-hanging fruit in creating another program on campus at Rock Valley College called Senior Semester. And this is an opportunity for students who are in our engineering pathway to attend the second semester of their senior year on campus. So they're completing their core content coursework, but also taking engineering courses. So when they graduate from high school, they have 15 credits under their belt from Rock Valley, and then they've completed their high school diploma as well. And Rock Valley has a partnership with Northern Illinois University that allows students to seamlessly move into a 4-year engineering program. So it was an obvious through line for us to create this partnership for our students in order to drive, again, more of that workforce demand for engineers in our region. So while more off-campus opportunities were wonderful and are wonderful, we needed to continue to work on our dual credit on campus. We also developed an equity imperative for our district, which states that all students have access to learning environments that work for them and interrupt the predictability of their zip code. And we really feel that dual credit is one of those opportunities that all students should have. So we worked closely with NIU Ed Systems, and a shout out to John and Emily for working alongside us to help advocate for moving toward multiple measures in pathway courses so that we could place all students who are interested in these pathways to access dual credit. And then concurrently, while those conversations were taking place with Rock Valley, the model partnership agreement came to fruition, and that was a great tool for us to leverage in order to move forward with them as a partner in launching more dual credit classes for our students. And we also leveraged our community partnerships to find teachers. So we have police officers teaching that crime scene investigation class. We have engineers from some of our engineering companies that are retired and teaching now. We have a nurse teaching medical science. We have business owners teaching business entrepreneurship. So we have experts from the field teaching. We have them CTE certified to, again, leverage those Perkins and CTEI funds to get more equipment and needs met for our students. And some of the challenge to that, as you may know, is that community partners aren't teachers. So this is where we leverage some of our central office and school partnerships to say, you know, they're really good at the content, but their classroom management stinks. And so we were able to, again, leverage some of those Perkins dollars to bring in our regional office of education to do some professional learning for those community partners to help them with classroom management, lesson planning, you know, things that as someone that came from industry, like, frankly, I didn't think about. I was like, this is great. We have a detective teaching crime scene investigation. And then I get a call from a principal that says, like, he really needs some support in his classroom. And, you know, kind of the light bulb went off, like, oh yeah, that's a piece that we really didn't even think of. And then our other challenge is that not all of our pathways at this time end in dual credit. So we're working on all of our pathways to ensure that more and more students have access to those early college credits and industry certifications. So as a result of this work, you know, we started with those 12 students earning college credit, and by the 2021 school year, we had 500 students earn 3 credits or more. And we just see that number continuing to grow. So we're really proud of that and really excited about what the future holds for us. So our next step is launching master's cohorts that are paid for by our district for our teachers. We currently have a partnership with our four-year liberal arts college, Rockford University, that we have 15 teachers who are participating in an English composition master's cohort. In the fall of 2022, we'll launch a math cohort with NIU and a history cohort with Rockford University. And then in 2023, we'll move towards bio and English lit with the hope and the goal that we will be able to offer a full schedule of dual credit courses for juniors and seniors. But there's a lot of communication that we have to work out prior to that. So internally and externally, there's still a lot of misconceptions that AP is still better than dual credit. Internally, our AP teachers are threatened and feel that their jobs are going to be taken away. And externally, parents still don't understand that dual credit can be guaranteed college credit, whereas AP often depends on the score you get on the test. And I think many of you know that colleges are increasing the score on the test. So where we used to see colleges accepting 3s, now many colleges are looking for 4s or 5s. So we are really trying to show the importance of putting students into dual credit courses, and we're working on an acceleration policy that would be similar to, honors, to put students into a dual credit course rather than asking them to opt in. And then lastly, again, our goal is by the graduating class of 2026 that we would have seniors who would have had a full schedule of dual credit courses as they were juniors, and then seniors, including their academy or pathway course and their core content. So that's what we're working towards. We have a little ways to go, but we're really proud of the work that we've done, and really just want to thank NIU Ed Systems again, and districts 211 and 214 have also been great thought partners for us along the way. So thank you so much to Megan and Shavon too for organizing this with me and participating, and we're just really excited to share all this information with you.
Hey, Bridget, we
sorry.
have a question here in the chat for you, and it's relating to if students will receive certifications.
I assume that you mean industry certifications, and many of our pathways offer industry certifications. We've been working on that as well, like alongside implementing dual credit. We had some industry certifications that were being obtained by our students, but weren't necessarily certifications that employers found value in. One, for example, was like Microsoft Office Specialist. I believe that's the mouse certification is. I mean, a lot of our employers kind of now assume that you know how to use Microsoft Office when you come in. So that's an example of an industry certification that we sort of moved away from.
There's another question here from Dina in terms of AP courses. So can you all kind of talk through that at your particular institutions?
Hi, sure. Actually, it's not my particular institution that I'm referring to. I think there's a misunderstanding because Bridget said not all colleges take an AP score of 3 anymore, and that's not accurate. I'm sorry. It's a law in Illinois that all public colleges and universities must accept a score of 3 or higher for AP and 4 or higher for IB. And so I think where you're getting confused is what they give you as equivalent to that score is different. If you get an AP Chem score of 3, you're not going to get the same coursework awarded to you as if you get an AP Chem score of 5, say, for example. But it's not that they don't take it, and it's not that they don't give you creditable coursework for it. That is the law.
Sure. Yeah, I apologize. What you mentioned was my intention.
Thank
I
you
just
so
didn't,
much for
yeah.
that.
I just
that
didn't,
clarification.
I just didn't explain it as clearly as you did. So thank you. Some of our teachers were holding professional education licenses and some were not. So there's a CTE provisional license that you can get through ISB for having 8,000 hours, which is a little bit less than 4 years. So for a lot of our employer partners, they easily had more than 4 years of experience in the job and were able to get that CTE provisional license.
Thank you. So I see there's a, so I'm going to pause for a moment because I want to open it up for questions from Bridget and also Shavon here. And so I see questions rolling in. I see one from Holly. Holly, I think that you're referring to Shavon. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question, I think that would be great. But from what I see here, I think it's pertaining to.
Yeah, I can answer that.
Okay.
Yes, I have it. I see it. Thank you so much, Holly. This is an excellent question in terms of working with our transfer institutions. We are literally on the brink of engaging them for much of this coursework and gathering input as well. So that was not a part of the initial phase as it relates to the ones we partner with, but we did entertain some for their feedback. Now it's time to kind of bridge and do a deeper dive into now what does our transferable relationship look like for our 4-year institutions. So that we're on the cusp of that talk, and it's great that you pointed that out because that's essentially the next step. Employer partners, 4-year institutions, that's another bucket of opportunity for what's next for our model pathway students in particular.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Shavon. I am currently a transfer initiative coordinator with the University of Illinois System Office. And so transfer is always on my mind. But I also have a background in academic advising at the 4-year level. And one of the biggest things that I always ran into were students not only who transferred into that university, but also started out as freshmen and had taken so much dual credit and had changed their major by the time that they entered my institution. So that was always something that we ran into as an issue and then resulted in credit loss because so many students take, so many AP, dual credit, all of these types of credit opportunities. And unfortunately, when you get to the 120 credit hours at the end of the degree, many of that had been lost. So that's just something that I've always wondered and considered, especially as these programs continue to evolve. So thank you for talking about that.
Absolutely. And to be very honest and transparent, before we were sending our students to transferology.com. And that just wasn't enough in terms of truly guiding them and making the proper connections. It wasn't until parents started reaching out to me saying, hey, we've done close to, 20 credit hours in this setting and all but 2 classes transferred to the school. So those are real issues that needs to be addressed, and we are happy that we're in position to address them. We have 2 new dedicated transfer directors at our district office level who work with 7 transfer directors at each of our colleges. And before we only had 1 who split their responsibilities for another initiative. So we're making all of the investments necessary. I talked about our model pathway work. We had to invest in a model pathway manager to oversee 4 of those pathway opportunities as it relates to working with our dual credit. The investments matter, and we're just in a time where we have to make those investments to receive the proper dividends that works for everybody.
Thank you, Shavon. Are there any other questions that you all have for Shavon and Bridget in this moment?
I just love to pick up on that last thread. I'd say for the state level pathways work, I really think much of the next phase we'll be looking at closer connections to 4-year universities. I know we've been doing a lot of work with community colleges, are providing accelerated placement and what we call kind of currency for students who have completed these pathway models. But I think there's a big question about how do we get the universities to also acknowledge that students have taken coursework and have work-based learning in these areas and are really truly ready to commit and to accelerate through them on the when they get to the university. So for anyone who would love to be part of that conversation, I know that we'd love to engage you to think about how we can start to really build those more concrete and streamlined pathways into both our 2-year and 4-year programs.
Perfect. John, I think it might be helpful for you to introduce yourself to the group.
Sure.
So that they know.
Hi,
who
everyone.
you
I'm
are.
John Ford, the Executive Director for Education Systems Center, and we've had the pleasure of working with both our Rockford and City Colleges and CPS friends in this work.
Thank you, John. So a couple of questions I have to the group as we begin to wrap up our session is, if you could share something, a thought that's still circling in your mind, a thought or concept that squares your thinking, or 1 to 3 takeaways, either in the chat or verbally, that would be amazing. Again, a thought or concept or an idea that's still circling in your mind, something that squares your thinking, and then maybe 1 to 3 takeaways. Again, feel free to unmute yourself and speak freely, or you can drop it in the chat as well.
May I kick this off? I actually have one that I learned from Bridget.
Please.
A takeaway and something that's still circling in my mind. Bridget, you mentioned that you guys, use your Perkins funding to pay for a group to train your college professors or college partners on how to teach in the classroom. And offer them professional development from that lens. And I like that way of reversing. And that's something I think I will add to our scope of professional development opportunities.
Perfect. Shavon, while we have you here, we have a love from Lori. She's saying that she loves that CCC has an oversight committee to bring high school and junior college partners together. So kudos to CCC.
Thank you, Ed Systems, for all of those many focus groups and interviews, conversations. It was such a labor of love. We could not have done this. And let me just say this, is if you guys realize already, I'm a very transparent and honest person. The reason why working with Ed Systems was so critical in this space is because sometimes people are more apt to hear from a third party. And we needed faculty to truly be engaged. And so when they got invitations from Ed Systems, it was like, yay, it's not just Shavon, But all in all, it worked out wonderfully, and we could not have done it without them. I do want to shout out some of the people I see in here. You guys were my colleagues, former colleagues. I just want to say hello. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Shavon. It was a true pleasure working through the process. And Bridget, I've enjoyed all the many conversations with Rock Valley and RPS through the years.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We'll hang back for about a minute or two. If you have any other questions, we'll be here. But again, I hope that you all enjoy the conference, and I hope that you all are able to go ahead and hop on the many other sessions that are going to take place throughout this week.